Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna, it's December 19th, 2020, and we're studying from Bhagavad Gita as it is chapter 7 entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. We're on text 8. Rasa, Aham, Apsu, Konteya, Prabha Asmi, Shashi Suryayo, Pranava, Sarva, Vedeshu, Shabda, Ke, Purusham, Vishu, Asoham Apsu Konteya, Prabhasmi Sasi Suryayo, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, Shabdake Purusham Nrishu, Rasoham Apsu Konteya, Prabhasmi Sasi Suryayo, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, Shabdake Purusham Nrishu, Rasoham Apsu Konteya, Prabhasmi Sasi Suryayo, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, Shabdake Purusham Nrishu,
Rasoham Apsukanteya, Prabhasmi Sasi Suryayo, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu,
Shabdake Purusham Nrishu,
Vasoham Apsukonteya, Prabhasmi Shashi Suryayo,
Pranava Sarva Vedeshu,
Shabdake
Purusham Nrishu. Okay, so we'll go to the word for word now. Rasa, taste. Aham, I. Apsu, in water. Konteya, O son of Kunti. Prabha Asmi, I am the light. Shashi Suryayo, in the sun and the moon. Pranava, the three letters. A-U-M, Sarva, in all. Vedeshu, in the Vedas. Shabda, sound vibration. K, in the ether. Purusham, ability. Nrishu, in man. Translation. O son of Kunti Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This verse explains how the Lord is all pervasive by His diverse material and spiritual energies, The Supreme Lord can be preliminarily perceived by his different energies, and in this way he is realized impersonally. As the demigod in the sun is a person and is perceived by his all-pervading energy, the sunshine, similarly, the Lord, although in his eternal abode, is perceived by his all-pervading diffusive energies. The taste of water is the active principle of water. No one likes to drink seawater because the pure taste of water is mixed with salt. Attraction for water depends on the purity of the taste, and this pure taste is one of the energies of the Lord. The impersonalist perceives the presence of the Lord in water by its taste, and the personalist also glorifies the Lord for his kindly supplying water to quench man's thirst. That is the way of perceiving the Supreme. Practically speaking, there is no conflict between personalism and impersonalism. One who knows God knows that the impersonal conception and personal conception are simultaneously present in everything, and that there is no contradiction. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya established his sublime doctrine, Achintya Bheda and Abheda Tattvam, simultaneously one and different. The light of the sun and the moon is also originally emanating from the Brahmagyoti, which is the impersonal effulgence of the Lord. Similarly, Pranava, or the Omkar transcendental sound used in the beginning of every Vedic hymn to address the Supreme Lord, also emanates from him. Because the impersonalists are very much afraid of addressing the Supreme Lord Krishna by his innumerable names, they prefer to vibrate the transcendental sound Omkar. But they do not realize that Omkar is the sound representation of Krishna. The jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness extends everywhere. And one who knows Krishna consciousness is blessed. Those who do not know Krishna are in illusion. And so knowledge of Krishna is liberation, and ignorance of him is bondage. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Upam Sagrajatam Saganavagnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansikalpata Yubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Rasoham Apsukanteya Prabhasmi Sasi Suryayo Pranavasarva Vedeshu Shabdake Purusham Nrishu. O son of Kunti Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. So this is, for me, this is a powerful verse, kind of giving hints how we can realize spirit, realize God in nature. And really, this verse, it forms, I'll call it a foundation for gratitude. In social science research for many decades, the research is very clear. The quality that most corresponds with happiness is gratitude. Yeah. There's so many qualities we can have. And the quality that most positive corresponds with happiness is gratitude. So of course we can be grateful for different people in our life, and we can find so many things to truly be grateful for. But I think as we raise awareness, the foundation of all sources for which to be grateful, that's God. Right? We might not think of it, but this verse is helping us think of it. Like we think, wow, it's the sunlight. Not just a sunny day. We enjoy sunny day, but the sun grows the food, and we're nurtured by the sun, and the moon. In the next verse, it says, "Punyo ganda pritivyam cha." God is present in the fragrance of the earth. Okay. So for water and sunlight and moonlight and it like that, right? So of course, thank you God for our daily bread and for food. And so this is really a foundation for all gratitude. It's like the beginning of gratitude, and from that naturally we're grateful for how people in our life support us to live a godly, God-conscious life. And conversely, there's a verse in the Bhagavatam, Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavat Vikinchana Sarver Gunes Tutra Samasate Sura Harava Bhaktisya Kuto Manat Mahadguna Manovartena Sati Davito Bahi, that one who's truly, not in an artificial sense, but one who's truly God conscious naturally has all the good qualities, not one who's making an artificial show. And one who's not effectively putting God in the center, in a sense, there might be some apparently good qualities, but the heart's always going to be hard. It's kind of like, because just like, because if we're getting so many gifts and blessings from the source, and we don't even recognize the source, like we don't even acknowledge, okay, we don't acknowledge the source. Well, that's selfishness, that's self-absorption, that's ingratitude. And so that's going to be afflicting the heart. That's why this kind of recognition of some power greater than ourselves, we might have different conceptions of form or name, that's really key for softening the heart. And so this is how, like, every time we drink water, we get to remember God. Every time we appreciate this light of the sun and the moon, we get to remember God. And in that way, support ourselves and others to progress towards the ultimate purpose of life, to be 24 hours a day, God conscious. Yeah. And so, so this Bhagavad Gita tradition, Bhakti Yoga tradition, it is a monotheistic tradition, meaning one God, and one God with many names. One God with many names. And so here, like, the name Krishna is used. Krishna is a name for God that means all attractive. Like Christ is a name that means the anointed one. Allah, the great one. Rachamim, the merciful one. And so just like I am one person, and I have different names according to my different relationships. We all do. Some might call me Dr. Wolf. Some might call me David. 2 people in the world call me Dad. You met one of them.
Yeah.
You met
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some might call you worse than that.
Yes. I have people who regard me as their enemy who have other names for me.
Many names.
Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago. Abhi and I we went canoeing to Canoe Outpost, and we met Jim.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was a neat coincidence.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've heard quite a bit about you guys from Thailand. And, I met Kathleen too. Yeah. So I knew.
You've heard of Safato.
Exactly. I knew about the Institute. Yeah. And they have, nothing but good things to say. So.
That's encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
Well, it's a small world here in North Florida, and and so similarly, God is one, and has different names according to his different relationships with different people. So Krishna is a name for God that means the all attractive. Ram is a name for God that means the reservoir of all pleasure. We're all seeking pleasure. That's natural. It's not like if we become spiritual, then we're not interested in pleasure, bliss, satisfaction, happiness. The problem is that in material, that like when we're always connected with God. It's not like we become disconnected, but we forget that we're connected. We forget that we're connected. And so in that condition, then we seek for happiness, bliss, pleasure, fulfillment in ways that become a source either immediately or down the line of more pain, misery, and suffering than actual happiness. Yeah, we can all shake our head in dismay. Oh yeah, I've done that. Oh, yeah. Just yesterday, and I don't want to go into it like that. And so, it's like a very practical book. It's like very, very practical. And yes, we all have examples like for attempts at some temporary gratification, we cause ourselves so much pain, misery, embarrassment, shame. We all have examples like that. We can all make lists. And so when we make sincere endeavor to direct our propensity for fulfillment, satisfaction, happiness, joy in Rama, God, the reservoir of all pleasure, then we as spirit souls are satisfied. Because really the ABCs of real spiritual life is realizing I'm not this body. This body is it's like a machine. It has its value, just like our car has its value. Our clothes has their value, but we're not the clothes. We're not the car. And so we spend a lot of time taking care of the car, right? And we want to, but we don't want to devote our whole life to cleaning the carburetor. I don't know what a carburetor is, but it's not my field, but you get the idea. Okay, so right.
The carburetor is really important.
I trust that completely. I don't doubt that. So we don't want to neglect the carburetor and the windshield wipers and all of that. So but we don't want to spend like 20 hours a day on taking care of the car. The car is a vehicle to help us get places. So similarly, we take care of the body, and we ought to. It's a temple of God, so we want to keep it healthy and like that. At the same time, so the question is like, to use that analogy, we're not the car, we're the driver of the car. So what is nourishment for the driver of the car? What is nourishment for the spirit soul, the spark of God that's inhabiting the body? And the nourishment, well, in the Sanskrit language, in the technical language, that's called bhakti. It means that when we use our free will to serve God with love and devotion, then the soul is completely nourished. Then the soul is completely nourished. And then we're aware and alive in our natural bliss, in our natural power and satisfaction. And so so this kind of, to be fully conscious of God and grateful for the Supreme, this is actually this is our original consciousness. That's why Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he often emphasizes that this God consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Even I was just hearing a lecture, and Prabhupada was talking about this Krishna consciousness movement. And he saw about this Krishna consciousness movement. And then he started talking about Jesus. Meaning like he didn't skip a beat, meaning like anyone who's empowered to share and inspire others to connect with themselves and connect with God in a spirit of devotion, they're a part of this Krishna consciousness movement. It's part of the same movement. Again, might be because there's one God, might be different names. Okay, and so this is ways through sound vibration. And it's very important. I am the sound in ether. Shabdake, Purusham Nush. Wherever I am ability. I am ability in man. Wherever we see great athlete, great musician, we know the source of that ability. That's God. So this is like training ourselves to become more and more God conscious each day of our life. And that's our happiness. That's our happiness. And this is like a manual. It's like a manual how to do it. It's a manual how to do it. And it's described a little later in the Gita. Aham sarvasya pavava mata sarvam pravartate imiti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. That Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, is saying, and as one knows me through nature, as one knows me more and more, it's just like there's a common saying, to know him is to love him. So as we get to know Krishna more and more, then naturally we want to serve. And that's the natural inclination of the soul, to serve God with love and devotion. And it's compared to Tatarur Mulani Shechanena, that just like if we pour water on the root of a tree, all the branches, twigs, and leaves are naturally nourished. So that's it, because like we can say it's like, well, yeah, I'm against racism, I'm against sexism, I serve America, or this one over here serves France or China or India or like that. And then kind of like that's all taken care of when we put God in the center. Right? It's just like if we're serving if we're truly wanting to please God and loving Krishna, then there's not going to be any room for hating this group or that group. Right? So there's like all the isms are taken care of, even nationalism, like that. Right? Because the different isms, they're based on the misconception that I am this body. Right? Okay, I want to say, like, let's say if someone dedicates their life to fighting valiantly for their country, there's something very noble and courageous about it. It's to be commended. Still, let's look at it philosophically. If I say, yes, I'll fight for America. Now someone can say, well, why don't you fight for Paraguay? Paraguay? Why would I fight for Paraguay? I'm American. So what's that saying? Meaning that this body, this bag of flesh and bones, was born in a place called Philadelphia.
Two of us.
Yeah.
We're about to see that new jokes.
Yeah. We got moved when I was 8. My family.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. So Jim and I, we have lots of connections here. Yeah. So actually, this was an early philosophical lesson for me. Some of you have heard it, but it was the first time I think I remember myself thinking philosophically. So like my my father, starting maybe at the age of 6 or 7, would take me to Phillies games and Sixers games and Eagles games. My Uncle Lou had season tickets to the Eagles games, box seats.
Nice.
Yeah, it was nice.
I don't even realize number she's speaking.
Well,
It's funny, I know, that's my one, I know exactly.
I have no clue what number
Yeah.
she said.
Okay, right. So you just need to humbly accept you don't understand everything. Okay, so all right. So somewhere around so we would root for the Phillies and things like that. So somewhere around 7 years old, I understood that theoretically at 7, we could move to New York. We could move to New York. But then would that mean we would root for the Yankees? No, the Mets, the Yankees, they're bad. The Phillies are good, the Eagles are good. But then I understood that this kind of good and bad, it's all based on where we live. It's relative, it's not absolute.
Oh.
It was crushing. Right. So it's the same thing. So I fight for America. Okay, well, why not fight for Paraguay? So in other words, if this body was born in Paraguay, then I fight for, if it was born in China, I fight for China. Right? So what's good, what's bad, enemy and friend, it's based on where this piece of flesh and bone was born. Okay? Again, it's not to minimize those who are giving themselves to fight for their country. There's something courageous about that, but we want to look at it philosophically. And so serving the root of the tree means serving God. Then yeah, if we're truly serving God, we're going to love all his children. There's no room to serve God, but I hate Mexicans and I love blacks, and no, there's no sectarianism. Then we love all his children naturally, very naturally. And so the root cause of that friction, yeah, we just a few days ago we quoted I'll paraphrase a quote by Henry David Thoreau. He said, there are many hacking at the branches of evil. There are thousands hacking at the branches of evil for one who's striking at the root. So this gets to the root. This gets to the root. The misidentification. Actually, the root cause of all anxiety is misidentification of the soul with the body. I remember it was almost about 10 years ago. It was in the beginning of 2011. And Marie and I, we started the Safa Tov radio show. I remember it was on 2011, Martin Luther King Day, happened to be the day like that. And so I started the show and I spoke, and I said, I spoke to the audience and I said, so Marie, even though you're French and I'm American, we can still get along in harmony. Even though you're woman, I'm man, we can still work together in peace and synergy. We looked at each other and went, no, it won't work. No, it won't work. No, it won't work. It will never work, because we can think let's think of the white people, the brown people, the people of this gender, of that gender, of this sexual preference, that sexual preference. But it's all based on illusion, because just like if we have a mathematical equation, we're starting with wrong numbers, then it's not going to come out. No, but I have a plan for this equation. No, you're starting with 73 and it's supposed to be 37. It's not going to work out.
Dice is loaded.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we're already starting with a severe disadvantage. Thanks for that. Yeah, we're already starting with the bases loaded. And so
No, I said dice is loaded.
Dices.
Dices are loaded.
Yeah, it's fixed. It's fixed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought you think I said bases are loaded?
I thought so.
Yeah, but they're fixed, yeah.
Got it.
I remember that from the
Yeah. So the correct numbers is realizing, oh, I'm not this body. I'm spirit soul. I'm a spirit soul. And your spirit soul. Yeah, we're all unique individuals, but we're not, just like, okay, so brown. So it's like, oh, you're brown, and you're grayish, and you're blue and white. You're blue, and you're blue too, and you're kind of, you have a denim thing. So you're denim or something. I don't know. Okay. And, oh, Prima Lila is one of those blue and white things too.
She's in the center.
Right. So we said, well, that's ridiculous. You know, we're not the color of our clothes. Right? So we're not the color of our skin. We're not the shape of the body. And so, yeah. So we're eternal spirit souls. And maybe actually, I spent several years in the Middle East in Arab villages and Jewish towns. I wrote an article because once I was in a dentist's office in a town in an Arab village in Israel, and it was high tensions. It was after the Intifada started in December '87, so it was after that, and so it was high tensions. The high tensions especially started December '87, and in this particular dentist's office, I was in the waiting room. I was waiting to show the dentist some books in Hebrew and Arabic from Prabhupada. And there was a calendar on the wall. And just like we all have our picture calendars. So in this particular calendar, there was, in this particular month, the picture was, in the forefront was an Israeli soldier, you know, with his helmet and the gun, the Uzi, probably a M16. And then in the blurry, in the background, there was a teenager, maybe about 13, 14 years old, Palestinian teenager with his arm cocked like a pitcher, about to throw a rock at the Israeli. Okay. And so the dentist had this on his wall. Okay. So that moved me, and I wrote an article, and I published in a magazine. The article was called A Farce of Fate. And in the article, what I wrote, it's a pretty short article, but I write, okay, imagine, let's play this out. So imagine he throws the rock, and maybe the soldier turns, or maybe one of the soldier's friends turns, they shoot the teenager, okay? Now, the principle is, yam yam vapi smam bavam tajidante klevam tam tam mebiti konti asadata baba babita. Whatever we're absorbed in at the time when the soul leaves the body, that'll take us to the next body. That's the principle of transmigration. Okay, so now we can imagine that maybe through his whole life and right at the moment of death, you know, this teenager, he is absorbed maybe with envy and anger towards this Ashkenazi Jewish Israeli. Okay, so then that consciousness will take him, and maybe he takes birth. He enters into the womb. He enters in the womb of Ruthie Horowitz, for example, in Ramat Aviv, which is an affluent suburb of Tel Aviv, and he takes birth as an Israeli Jew. Okay, and he's raised, and at 18 years old, he goes into the military, and he's given his gun, and he goes, okay, next week you're standing guard at Arabe, and be careful of those vicious, nasty Palestinian teenagers. You just need to be careful of them, right? So this was the Palestinian teenager 18 years ago. So that's the way it works. That, yeah, maybe in previous lives we've been in so many species. We've been in so many female bodies and male bodies and yellow bodies and black bodies on different planets.
So you wanted to throw a rock at David Wolf?
What's that?
So you wanted to throw a rock at David Wolf in your past life?
I wanted to throw. Yeah. I'm not exactly following, but I think I get the idea. Yeah. So these are kind of like virtual reality characters. These are like dream characters, but it doesn't mean it's like, oh, it's all nonsense. It means like we can use the relative in the service of the absolute. We can use the temporary in the service of the eternal. Yeah. Okay. David Wolf. Okay. I am David Wolf from Philadelphia. I recently turned 60 years old. Okay. So Was I David Wolf from Philadelphia 100 years ago? Will I be David Wolf from Philadelphia 100 years from now? No. So that's relative truth. Absolute truth is I'm spirit soul. I'm not the body. I'm servant of God. That's true in all time and space. Real friendship, real love is supporting each other to realize that and to live that. And this Bhagavad Gita, it's like a manual for doing that. It's like a manual for doing that. And yeah. So I thought I'll pause there and see if there's any comments or questions. Before we go there, I'll read the verse again. Rasu hamapsu kantiya prabhasmi sasi suryayo pranavasarva vedeshu shabdike purusham nrishu. O son of Kunti Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Hare Krishna, thanks for your presence and attention. And I welcome any comments or questions. Yeah.
Comment, or it must say a comment, I think, but could you give the analogy of it's like a nationalism, talking about countries,
Yeah.
So God consciousness means, analogous thinking would be like God consciousness is like not identifying with those borders or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like not just like I'm American, you're French, whatever. Like so to not identify with that. But at the same time, this verse especially speaking about impersonalism and personalism.
Yeah.
And so it's not that if we're God conscious, then we don't make differentiation between your being French and me being American. It's like, it's like there's the distinction because it's not undifferentiated.
Yeah.
There is differentiation.
There's variety. Yeah.
There is variety. So it's not that. So it's not like, to use that analogy, it's not like globalism of like wanting to dissolve borders and we're all, it's like, no, we can be different languages, different cultures, different, there's variety, there's individualism.
We all have our personal taste and psychophysical natures.
Right.
Yes.
So it's like, it's like the balance spectrum. It's like the balance of the spectrum, like the true God consciousness that what Prabhupada is speaking here is it's not just to be in our isolated in our countries of I'm on this team and you're on this team.
Yes.
And it's not to just be okay. There's no teams exist. It's like acknowledging there are different teams, but like we can work together maybe or something like that.
Thanks for that. The platform of equality is cultivating realization that we're not the car, we're the driver of the car. And knowing the car is also very important, right? Because materially, there is no equality. Let's say we got an 18-wheel truck, and we got a mini compact. They're not equal. Now the drivers are equal. But the 18-wheel truck is a whole lot more powerful than the mini compact. And the mini compact can fit into tight parking spaces in Philadelphia that the 18-wheel truck couldn't hope to fit into. Right? So they both have their strengths and weaknesses. And we want to know our car. Like, am I driving a luxury sedan? Am I driving a car where if I depress the accelerator 2 inches, it'll accelerate 0 to 60 real quick, or it'll hardly move? It's important to know our car while cultivating realization that I'm not the car, I'm the driver. And what is the nurture, what is food for the driver? So both are, so it doesn't matter what car. No, it does matter. We want to know our vehicles, and there are important distinctions in the vehicles. And even in the drivers, there are There are spiritual distinctions. Natvevaham jatundasam natvam name janadipa nachevanam bhavishyam ma sarvevayamatak param. That's a text from Bhagavad Gita that says we're eternally spiritual individuals. And so we are eternally individual, unique servants of Krishna, servants of God. So thanks for that.
I was thinking because it's like you're speaking about like what's the cure for racism and these kind of isms and nationalism and things like that, because and like so this spiritual knowledge, it's a solution for everything, it's the source. So it's not just, you know, for spiritualists, it's like this is the solution for nationalism and disputes between Israelis and Jews, and
it's universal. It's universal principles.
And so it's like on that place, like you said, like the different vehicles, because say racism, one approach is like to just, it's kind of like ignorance, you know, illusion of transcendence, you know, just, but it's really ignorance of like, there is no racism, there is no, you know, I'm colorblind, you know.
Yes.
I don't see color, you know, I don't see
like fake.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It's like I don't see color. I don't see, oh, you're black. I don't see you know, there's no difference. You know, you have the same advantages as I did, or you know, just kind of like, you know, not seeing that. And so then, like the Krishna conscious example with the God consciousness is like you're saying, no, there are different vehicles. The different vehicles have different strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And we can acknowledge those and not be, you know, tied up and bound by that limited thinking.
Our identity, we don't identify with those.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, that because certainly there's oppression and victimization and perpetrators and perpetrated, and we can all tell stories where we've been victimized and unfairly treated, and if we're a little honest, we can tell stories where we victimized others and unfairly treated others. That's material life. I mean, since you mentioned racism, you probably heard of, maybe you heard of Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He passed, you heard of Bhakti Tirtha Swami? Yes, from Tyler.
Yeah.
Right. And so actually in 2000, Radhanath Swami, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, 2003 in Detroit, I co-facilitated a leadership seminar with Bhakti Tirtha Swami.
When was this?
2003 in Detroit. And he passed away around 2004, passed away about a year or two after that. And he used to send me manuscripts of his books for comments, so we had a relationship. Also, Radhanath Swami participated in some workshops that I conducted in West Virginia, things like that. So Bhakti, he's black-bodied, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and he went to Prabhupada in the 70s, and he told Prabhupada, in this movement, there's racism and like that. So Prabhupada said, if they're treating you as if you're your body, that's their nonsense. And then Prabhupada said, if you're disturbed by it, that's your nonsense. So this Bhagavad Gita, an article I referred to a lot in recent months, 1944, Back to Godhead. Prabhupada's doing an analysis of theosophy. Madame Blavatsky, Rudolf Steiner was very influenced like that by theosophy. So this is 44, and apparently theosophy was pretty popular in India. So Prabhupada was in India at that time. And so Prabhupada, he quotes the theosophist philosophy, and he shows understanding. And they have quotes like, we will not rest at night peacefully until the weak are not oppressed by the strong, and we will shed tears of compassion as long as there is oppression, and things like that. So Prabhupada writes, these are very fine sentiments, and our approach as Vaishnavas is a little different. He said, our approach isn't to make sure that the weak aren't oppressed by the strong. He said, our approach is to make everyone so strong that they won't be oppressed. That's powerful. Different, like, oh, different paradigm. So strong, meaning that ahetukya pratyata, that everyone's so strong in their connection with God that whatever disturbance, whatever prejudice, whatever pandemics, whatever is happening, I am joyful and enthusiastic and inspired in my service to God, and you can't touch that. So that's Bhagavad Gita. Damayanti.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. I'm really touched by this verse coming into my life this week because I yesterday had an experience with the sun, and I'm usually not letting myself just be present and grateful and joyful on planet Earth and kind of being simple-hearted. I have things to do and I have worries. And yesterday my children packed up. Can you hear me just fine?
Yes.
Okay. My children packed up everything without letting me know, and they made a plan without letting me know what the plan was, and said, we're going out to this place on a walk and we're ready to go. And I'm like looking at them like it was so simple and true for them, and I could do it, So I just got ready and we went, and it was cold, but it was sunny and cloudless. Anyway, we went on a long walk, and we were in this huge field, which is just my favorite place on the planet. It's like just a big sunny field. And I laid on the earth, and then the sun was perfectly warming me up. Like, it was like, anyway, I just was like, oh, how powerful, like just Mother Earth and Father Son. It's like so perfect and so powerful. Holding me. It was the sacred. Anyway, I just felt really like held, getting cared for and restored, and just so refreshed and so deeply nourished. And I had given myself anything like that in a long time. It's just like, what am I busy doing? And I'm not even like present to life. And this verse is a lot about to me. I'm seeing that it's a lot about pausing and acknowledging the beauty of life everywhere.
Literally about smelling the roses. And your sons dragged you into an experience of appreciation for sunlight and sunshine, and now this verse appears to you today.
Yeah, and you know what? As I was like, I hadn't decided if I was like, you guys have lunch all packed up, everything ready, and they usually don't do that. I mean, they never did that before. And Cyprian said, my youngest son, who's 8, he said, yeah, you can do your chanting. Like, he was like enticing me, and I was like, well, that's the deal breaker right there, because I need to do some chanting, and I did a lot of chanting. And just to share one more like sort of question is like, it's like there a lot of like spiritual like teachings talk about being present, being in the present moment, as if that's all there is and that's where the bliss is of life. And part of that feels true. And so my question, I guess I have 2 questions, like, is what's more purposeful, like just being present to reality, like being aware and being there present, or like devotional service to Krishna, because that devotional service to God, because that's what I'm learning through Bhakti Yoga, and that really feels like it. But then I go back to sort of this previous paradigm where like just being present is where the bliss is at, And then my other question is, what does it take to be present? And I have my own conjecture, but I'm curious what yours is. All right, thank you.
I was just reading a lecture today, reading a transcription of lecture. I was talking about the teaching of Queen Kunti. And Prabhupada says, well, we say consciousness, be conscious, but he said that's incomplete. He said everything's Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada gave the example. He said, like, we don't say shine, the shine. We say the sunshine, because all the radiation comes from the sun. So all consciousness, all presence comes from Krishna. It's Krishna presence, God presence, God consciousness. So devotional service appropriately performed includes presence. I say appropriately performed because it's kind of like I'm this frantic, neurotic mess and go, oh, I gotta check my rounds, I gotta do this, and the program starts here. Okay. I have to write those emails for God. Oh my God. So then, okay, so then I'm in a lower mode. But devotional service properly performed includes presence. And just like we're speaking, like presence, sure, like presence with the sunshine. Okay, nice. So that's nice, but it's not complete, because presence with the sunshine and presence with gratitude to the source of the sunshine, God, that's more complete. And without that, we're present, but also this selfish miser that I'm not even acknowledging the source. Just like, whatever, like let's say someone feeds me this amazing meal. I'm present with the meal, nice, I'm chewing, okay, present with the meal, but but in my heart, I have no gratitude for who served me the meal. Something's missing there. So present with the sunshine and the moonshine, nature. Whose nature is it? Who's supplying? Who's the source? So presence in Krishna consciousness with gratitude for the source of nature, that's more complete. Thank you, Damayanti. Hare Krishna.
I heard Prabhupada in the lecture was speaking like, Krishna, God is giving you so much things. You're breathing, you're eating, you're living through breath. He's giving you so much, and what are you doing? What are you doing? Like get to that point. He was emotional. It's very. He's giving you so much. You're even breathing, living here. What are you thinking? What are you doing in exchange?
You resonate with that point. Yeah. How are we reciprocating? Yeah. How are we showing our gratitude? Thanks for that. Any other sharing or comments or questions, realizations? For the next part of our program, because at the beginning of the program, we experienced mantra meditation in the form of kirtan. And before we go to prasadam, and if some need to leave early, we have prasadam. We'll experience mantra meditation in the form of japa. And then yes.
Let's see I'll see you around.
Yes.
Here you go.
All right.
Yeah. So
Yes, I am definitely open to japa. It's just how we get in the habit of doing something for a long time.
yeah.
It's just I haven't really had been able to kind of jump into that.
Yeah, because you have some other meditation technique.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it. And this is this one just open up possibility.
Yeah.
Now, for japa, it's generally recommended to use the right hand, thumb and middle finger, and to start by holding the bead next to the large bead. Large bead means the one with the tassel. The bead next to the large bead, thumb, middle finger, right hand, and on that bead to chant one Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Then to move to the second bead away from the large bead, and again, one Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In this way, we chant one mantra per bead, not including the large bead. There are 108 beads on the strand. The large bead is generally a marker. Like if we were to chant more than one round, we wouldn't chant on or over the large bead. We'd go like that. So to chant 108 mantras is called chanting one round of Maha Mantra Japa. I know for myself, since the summer of '83, chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra Japa, it's really a cornerstone of my personal spiritual God conscious practice, chanting the names of God in this form. I actually, since more than 37 years, I'm chanting at least 16 rounds per day. And Hare Krishna, Karen Premalila, thanks for visiting. Hare Krishna. And I really appreciate all parts of my life, and the part of each day I look forward to the most is getting up in the morning and chanting. Oh wow! Chanting japa. It really gives me the focus to appreciate God's presence in all aspects of my life, in all my services, like that. And so, as we discussed earlier, the basic principle of the meditation is to chant the mantra and do our best to focus our power of hearing on each word of the mantra and be with our experience. If we notice our mind wandering, mine always does, and I've been practicing for 38 years. Practicing means I'm not good at it, so I'm just practicing.
Still training.
Exactly.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
And then mind wanders, just notice that and bring it back to the sound of the mantra and be with our experience. So let's chant one round of japa together, and we can start with the first bead next to the large bead. Make yourself comfortable.
Okay.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yes. I can help you. You're good? All set?
Yeah.
That's good. That's perfect. Yeah, make yourself comfortable. Because especially powerful element of this chanting, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is that there's no particular rules and regulations. We can chant while sitting, while standing. Sometimes I'll walk in the fields and chant. We can chant alone with others. And the recommended kind of mood of the chanting. The chanting, the mantra meditation, it's a prayer and it's an answer to a prayer. The mood is prayerful. My dear God, my dear Krishna, please engage me in your service. And by chanting, we are engaging in the service of Krishna. So it's a prayer and simultaneously an answer to the prayer. So let's start with the first bead next to the large bead and chant one round together. Okay? Let's begin. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you for sharing Hare Krishna.
That was nice.
Nice.
That was very, that was nice.
Yeah,
I
so
think that was Moroccani.
a few beads off. Yeah, hard to keep
That
track.
happens to me sometimes.
So you said you already have beads?
I do actually.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I lived in Atlanta and I would go to the temple there.
Oh, Atlanta.
4 years. I got some there. 2013.
On
2017.
Ponce de Leon Avenue.
On Ponce de Leon, yeah. I would go once a week or so for probably 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I went to the Sunday feasts.
Right, mostly the Sunday feast.
And
I saw Malati. She
Malati.
gave a talk once on a Friday. So yeah.
Would you like to have some dinner?
That would be nice. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You can take it. You gonna take some to go?
Yeah, that's actually made me leave a little sooner, but I couldn't resist that one.
Yes. Thanks for saying. Always second door to the right.
I'm heading out there, it's nice to meet you.
You too, brother. I'll see you around.
Participating.
Yes. Had a nice place, William's birthday party.
Was today?
We had lots of prashadam and distributed the devotees, pleasing the devotees, and
Nice.
prashadam Christmas cookies, and just handing out lots of blissful, devotional. Yeah, it's very nice. And then to top it off,
You must be about 8 years old or something?
7.
7.
Yeah. 7 years old. Hare Krishna, Prabhus, thank you.
Nice. So night she didn't. That's Tuesday. Right. That's what I understand. Yeah, I have that on the calendar. Yeah, that I have on the calendar. Tuesday. I think it's earlier. I think it's earlier than that. Okay, that's for you. Oh, I'm not sure which is yours. We can just take
Yeah,
one.
used to be sick, he was,
In this atmosphere, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So maybe that's it. We can use these. Let's use it.
I can actually watch them, I can watch them.
This one. I think you know Rama from the Kirtan in Gainesville.
We did, I don't think we officially met, but I do remember, yeah. Nice seeing you again. Yeah, and I heard you got stuck from the pandemic, got stuck here. Is that true? You say? I heard you got, you're a traveling monk and you got stuck here? I used to be a monk, but I'm still traveling. Yeah, when you got stuck here or? Yeah. Somehow?
Yeah, maybe in January for the software courses. Maybe the day after the courses ended in March.
Well, it was really crazy.
Lockdown.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
I think you had to the pandemic started.
Actually, before.
We were like in a week of isolation, and then in the middle, that's all. Yeah, no, I'm really so. You I just extended sort of my visit. Well, it's a nice place to be.
Yes, North Florida is a nice place to be.
Yeah.
I moved to this area in 1992. There's children here. Work very well. Very nice. Yeah.
Where did you go to college?
I went to undergrad in '78 into the early 80s at Penn State.
Oh.
Penn State College, the University of Florida.
That's where my dad went.
Went to Penn State.
Yeah, so I Penn State, yeah. Yeah.
I was there from '78 to '83. And then I was traveling in the Middle East. I lived in Israel for a few years. And then in the '90s, I went to grad school and I got my master's and PhD. I got it from Florida State, but most of the courses I took on the campus of Gainesville. Like off-campus programs.
What was that? When you got here?
I got my master's in '97 and my PhD in '99. This is like a publication of my PhD dissertation. My dissertation is on the effects of mantra chanting.
Very nice. Very nice. I crafted the Christian book.
You did?
Yeah, I like that. And then look through the power about you. Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that you're looking at the Christian book. No, it's found out to be a wonderfully sweet book.
It is nice. Yeah. Simple. Poetic and
Yes, correct. With
entertainment.
entertaining with philosophy intertwined. Patient. So you're employed at Canoe Outpost several days per week?
recently kind of stepped away from working at the outpost. I had been doing the past 3 years. Yeah. So now I'm kind of looking for my next move, so to speak.
Like your next,
Something to make me decent, live. But yeah, if not,
you found like you feel complete with the Kingdom Outpost chapter of your life.
yes, yeah, for now, yeah. And I'd like to get into solar power sales, and that's something that, possibly something I want to do.
That interests you.
Very much, yeah,
Uh-huh.
very much, yeah. And I used to, and I did, well, right out of college, I went up and worked, sold real estate, in the family business. And, so I do like sales. And I've worked through my dad's property management company for a few years, and yeah, kind of, figuring things out, yeah.
You're in a transition, you're not quite sure to what.
Well, to be honest, I like sales. It's kind of, I think that's my nature.
Sales, yeah.
But I kind of, had some trip up on the spiritual path. I've been doing this for a while too, like say 18 years. I started doing that hatha yoga and meditating, and went vegetarian. This was my senior year in college, and but yeah, I like just there was there was not too long ago, but I kind of went too introverted, kind of like a hermit, and I kind of got into some suppression, like suppressing my thoughts.
Right. It wasn't healthy.
Not at all. It stopped and kind of cut relationships off. My sister had gotten a manic episode, and that really like punched me in the face.
It's scary.
Very scary. 5 days in Costa Rica, my dad hospitalized, and he went out there, and I really felt like, it was unfair and why. And I had been doing, for like 3 years, I had already been looking for meaning and purpose, and so I was like, you know what, I need to go deeper. So let me go extreme. And I did kind of, I got into extreme, some, doing some like fasting and
But it really imbalanced.
acting, yes. I thought, I don't know. So just to kind of make a long story short, to kind of get back, that created, anxiety, and I totally threw off my social rhythm, and also like, my flow to communicate. But the past few years, it started to come back quite a bit. So that when I say I do like sales, I feel like I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, am I ready to really? Because when you're selling, you're talking, communicating. Yeah, a lot, right. But
So your nature is to like sales, but you kind of, for many years, you blocked that part of your nature.
right, it took on this personality of let me be stoic.
Right.
Let me do this. I'm going to be this, stoic, and so you push your emotions down too, and and then that kind of gets stuck on cruise control. It's hard to get it on again.
The stoic takes control of you.
Yeah. And then again, I cut off relationships too, and spent a lot of time alone. I mean, in a sense, there was some austerity. I'm not, and I still was doing a lot of my practices and stuff like that. But it was colossal, and
In retrospect, you
Yeah.
You have some regrets for how you handled that period.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah.
Now you're looking at like what is moving towards balance or what?
Yes, yes, and you know, when I sold real estate, I sold a few houses, and I enjoyed that rhythm. Because I enjoyed 80% of the time, or most of the time I was going to work, it was a nice passion. And I realized my dad, my dad is like that, and it's kind of, I grew up with that, so it's my nature.
When was that selling real estate? How many years ago was that?
That was 1 year out of college, so this
Okay.
2004, 2005. Yeah, those yeah.
You have that in you.
Right.
You let it become real dormant.
Yes, I took like a 15-year hiatus. I was a substitute teacher for 2 years, and worked for Dad, numerous, off and on, which is and then I've always been. I realized how much energy, valuable energy you can get through relationships. And how like even just chanting there, being with somebody, it's like it's a different dynamic.
Something came alive.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, like I do feel like the enthusiasm and like ego. I do want to kind of play a role, play a part in the economy, and I know quite a bit about solar power, and I've thought about angles of how to really how to sell it, how to simplify it, so people understand.
Some innovative ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and where people can get it clearly, understand it well, and so there's like 5 companies in town, and I just started working on my resume, and so one thought is just go to these companies and say I want to sell, I want to try to make you money, I want to make myself money.
You can be an independent contractor and go to companies, and then that's your vision.
Right. Well, I would have to link up to one company.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. Because I would rather kind of do that too, instead of like be put under a salary.
Right.
And because I do feel
Have that flexibility.
and I feel some pretty somewhat confident that I could I could sell, and in a sense it does sell. It can sell itself too. If you spend $5 grand on some panels, you can make $800 a year in savings. Yes. So then, So then, in 7 years or whatever, you make money back. It's a great return. And then, after 7 years, it's 800, and whatever that breaks down to per month, it's still something,
It becomes passive income.
Absolutely. And then if you care about the environment,
Yeah.
that's an interest point. Then you have these people who are apocalyptic, which is fine.
Right.
Where the grid's going to come down, and which is not terribly out of the on-ground possibility.
It could happen in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just having that your own
Self-sufficient, sustainability.
right. You can take it in your own hands. You don't have to worry about what you are using, whatever. And and then there's two ends of it. Like I would, and not also if our companies do this, but if you come into someone's house and you say, you know what, if we caulked all these windows, it's gonna do this. We can save you an extra, maybe 25 or 30 bucks with some simple measures. So that 30 bucks times 12 is 360 bucks more.
Significant, yeah.
So that would be part of my pitch too, is like, let's do both ends.
Yes.
And then, you know, if people want to get, and then, you know, if people want to get into, like, and then also you can clean like coils and refrigerators but if people want to get into, you know, upgrading appliances and stuff, that can help too. You know,
Efficiency.
Exactly.
And I think, you're enlivened by that whole direction.
Yeah.
When you get into it.
Yeah. But yeah, I've kind of been just like working on my own psychological, emotional stability.
Interpersonal, internal life.
Yeah. So, and again, I kind of feel like I'm close. I'm not sure, you know, I think,
You're not quite sure where you stand in your process.
right. And so I could start trying to maybe chart 15 hours or 20 hours where I'm making phone calls or going and talking to people, meeting with people and saying, you know, 10 minutes here.
Start something.
Start somewhere and see, but I'm passionate about the environment, you know, and what we want to use is that's another call, you know.
Having an effect.
Yeah.
And that will increase.
Yeah. I guess my next step would be trying to connect with someone or a company. Kind of vibe with.
Planning to do that like in January, next few weeks.
Yeah. You know, one thing I liked about the canoe outpost is that, I like using my body I've always been, you know, playing basketball.
Physical, your nature.
Physical, right, I didn't have to really use those interpersonal skills that much. I'll do Uber Eats. I do that sometimes. That's like a good, just delivery, making, someone calls an order at the restaurant, you look at it and deliver it to them.
Okay. You're getting on that on the side.
They just, you know, help you out. Yeah.
Some income. It's not like your passion, but.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, I mean, the outpost, I do like it. I like the idea of the business, and I guess Dan and I are just a little bit on some important different pages. So
Not completely resident.
right. So, but I think he would like me to take it over and, keep going and.
That would be his vision for your life.
Get them pay them, monthly, whatever, yeah. But, so, yeah.
Right. At least at this juncture, it's not your vision for your life.
Right. I mean, really not really just like, just stability, just kind of getting my really,
Starting internally.
Exactly. And, how about you? Is it just a soccer club that you do?
Yeah, and that takes many forms. Like, it takes the form of teaching seminars. Part of Soccer Club Institute is we've established a professional coach training school that's accredited at the top level. So I train coaches, I conduct seminars, I do individual coaching, individual psychotherapy. I supervise psychotherapists. I'm also a supervisor psychotherapist in Florida. And I writing. So yeah, in a sense, everything's Safito. He's bought the yoga program. Very, for me, it's all connected with life purpose. It's all Safito, but it's quite diverse. You know, each day looks different. Some days I might be involved in personal one-on-one coaching or counseling. Other days, training groups of coaches. Other day, of course, we're conducting seminars online now, but for 25 years, I was conducting in-person seminars. So it's all connected with the same mission, like I said, the same purpose.
Gotcha. Yeah. I would say I would like it'd be great to have like a teammate in the sense that do sales with a partner.
Yeah.
I kind of realized like just I've always been really close to my mother, and probably in a codependent way.
Okay.
And she gave me so much strength and comfort and support. And then I always had best friends too.
Okay.
So I'm like, you know what? And I thought about a few other business ideas. I'm like, I don't want to try to do something alone.
You really want some team.
Yes. Whether it's, whether even just one, yeah. And you just kind of figure things out about yourself and see what kind of people. So yeah. So if you don't know what's interested in trying to sell. So without her, there's like
Okay. So
and it would be great, of course, it'd be way best if you have someone who's that's the same. I would bring service.
same mindset.
Yeah.
Same mindset.
Exactly. Do it for God.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Have that in our mind all the time. And that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Have that.
That would be your wish.
That would be it. Yes.
So amongst your current friendship circle, there's not really anyone who's matching in that way.
There's not, right. I still spend a lot of time alone. Okay.
You haven't quite come out.
Right. Like I hang out with Tyler and I got a girlfriend, for the first time in like 15 years in January.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Yeah.
She was a good girl, a nice Jewish girl from Brooklyn.
Okay.
I met her from Bonner Rose.
I know.
Yeah. She was actually 60, but she had a youngest daughter.
Yeah.
Her name was June, Zimmerman. And it was great. It was just like,
That's chemistry.
Exactly. That's chemistry. I was able to really share and have, started, trust and comfort. And she was very, she's pretty compassionate and so I was like, let's try to do something. You have some money problems. Let's try to do something.
Yeah.
But she wasn't interested. She really wasn't interested so much. And so, and then Tyler was doing PhD. Right. I have actually. There's a kid named Matt Bach. I don't know if you remember Harvey now. This guy Joseph, the black guy. Yeah, they
I
kind of.
lived since the early 90s.
Ah.
I guess he's Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I do. We're also. I talked with him some, and I brought it up to him. Something. Because I was even like, I go to the farmer's market and I realized that they don't sell toothpaste and deodorant and soap. And I was like, I would, even just to make, to be my own boss and make something. I started looking to see, it's not making batches of toothpaste, and so it's not that difficult. Just whatever, so I would rather do that with somebody than by myself try to.
Yeah, you don't want to be a loner.
Right. Because really, it's been so much isolation. Yeah.
I get it. One for love, torment,
Yeah. 100%. Rico. I haven't been down there yet on Thanksgiving. Looking forward to it.
Is it Ariel?
Well, you know Owen, really?
What's the name?
Owen is, you know, Owen, he kind of like, he runs the farm, runs the organization. But yeah, he is already student or, you know, although I hear already quite in the background now, but kind of aging and over. But so Owen and I go back way back. He was my twin sister and him were high school sweethearts for a couple of years. High school, yeah. Small world. Small world. And so I was looking forward to going down there. And like, I also had the intention of, you know what? This guy's, you know, he's got a good thing going. I would like to join the team somehow. In Puerto Rico, but then the day, yeah, we were all set to go, and the day before, you know, he had a Sunday meeting and a couple of his older employees, but they were grandma and uncle and auntie. Yeah, we don't want America coming out. We're watching the news. It's spiked up again, so I was like, so
Interfered with plans.
interfere with plans, it did. But since then, I feel okay. Yeah, I'm looking forward, but I'm okay. But as far as sales, like I do know a lot of people growing up here, with my dad, with all of my high school buddies,
Yeah.
you know.
You have contacts from past years and decades.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought about if I was to go to a different city and try to sell solar compared to here, because well, hold on.
You got a head start.
Yeah. So I'm going
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I've heard a lot about Tyler, I've heard a lot about Owen and Ariana. And some personal connection with Ariana. Back in the early 90s, I was actually very involved in the New Roman Recti community back in the 90s, about 2001. The Electra Hare Krishna community, used to go to the temple there a lot. We should go there also.
Yeah.
Again, I haven't had personal connection with him in probably 25 years.
Yeah.
But okay, you asked what I think. Well, he's enthusiastic, inspired. He's a sincere devotee of God. And my sense is he's not necessarily all that emotionally stable.
I think you could put I agree. Yeah. I do think he does have a lot. He does have depth. He has a lot of wisdom.
Philosophy, yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's like, yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah. And I think he did help those guys out.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did help get it going. Yeah. You're right. Appreciate it.
Anything you'd like to take, you can put in here. And just to see that you probably give you this book last night.
Okay.
I think you'll get a lot of value from this. I first published it in 2008.
No, you did use
This one you got?
Yeah.
This one and this one you got.
And then the Krishna book.
The Christian.
Yeah.
Here.
And I have a Gita.
So you get this one. Encourage you.
Okay.
So nice and very good. So we have our schedule, and this is our last evening program here scheduled for this month. In January, we'll have more.
Okay.
And we have online programs tomorrow and starting Thursday again. Next Sunday, we'll be doing probably a pretty big program in Melrose. It's on the calendar. And
I saw, I'm really thinking about doing that.
maybe I can come to that. Even though it's a pandemic, the last one there, we had like 25 people in person wearing masks, and another several online. So it's very nice facility there. And next tomorrow morning online, Marie will be leading the philosophy class and discussion.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning.
Okay. You guys still do this? Well, you get up and check beforehand?
Yeah.
Is that neat? So I guess when it's online, you don't walk around outside or.
If the program is online.
Right.
No, the program is like around about 5 to 5:30. We have some clear time. From 5:30 to 7:30 is chanting. So if it's warm enough, I walk outside.
Okay.
We like the chanting. We're kind of all on our own for that part of the program.
But connected with the screens being
Exactly.
portal open.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So if it's like 5:30, maybe 5:30, 6:30, I'll sit in the temple room and chant with others and or online. And then at 6:30, I might take a walk for half an hour.
Okay.
That's typical. And then at 7:30, we start with the Vindon prayers, kirtan.
I liked it. That was a nice chanting there. I will say, it definitely take me like steps.
Yeah.
You know, like start off whatever 4 rounds or I do that for a little while. No, and then of course, and then you know, like I said, really. And then if I change,
It's a gradual process.
right, and sometimes in mine, like if I chant, and then I can do kirtan, but then can I sit the class? You know, that's somewhat gradual, but yeah, usually they don't, or in the middle of the. So, thank you, brother. It was very nice. I enjoyed talking.
You did.
Yeah.
It's a connection. And look forward to more.
Yes, definitely.